Hi everybody, we're going to review for the Unit 7 end of unit study guide. So question 1, consider the measurements for M, N, and P in each scenario, and then select whether or not the 3 side measurements can create a triangle. So remember that the 2 shorter sides have to be greater when you add them together than the longest side. So I'm going to add 5 plus 7 and I get 12, and 12 is greater than 9, so this one's going to work. 5 plus 7 is 12, but 12 is not greater than 12, so this one's not going to work. 5 plus 7 is 12, 12 is not greater than 13, not going to work. 5 plus 7 is 12, 12 is greater than 8, so that will work. 5 plus 7 is 12. 12 is just greater than 11.5, so that will work. So 3 out of the 5 will work. All right, if the measure of angle R is 20 less than the measure of angle S, what is the measure of angle T in degrees? Well, I know that R is 20 less than the measure of angle S. So I know if this is X, then this is X minus 20. So I know that this is going to be 90 degrees, because if this side is 90, that makes this side 90. So I have 2X minus 20 equals 90. So I'm going to add 20 to each side. Yes.
I lost my jacket. You know where my jacket is?
No, I don't.
I think in Miss Cash's classroom.
If Miss Guthrie's still here, she has a key.
Okay.
So 2x equals 110, so I'm going to divide by 2. So x equals 55. So that means angle X or angle S is 55, and that makes angle R 55 minus 20, which is 35. So then it says, what is the measure of angle T in degrees? Well, I know this is a straight line, so I'm going to do 180 minus 35. And I get 145 degrees. All right, what is the measure in degrees of angle Z? Well, I know angles X and Y are complementary, which means they add up to 90 degrees. So if this is 90 degrees, that means this is 90 degrees. So I know if I have 30 plus angle Z equals 90, I can subtract 30 on each side. So Z equals 60 degrees. All right, in the diagram, it shows 3 lines intersecting at point Y. What is the measure in degrees of angle XYZ? So XYZ. So they want that angle right there. Well, I know this is 90. And then I know, maybe I should change my color. I know that these two are vertical angles, so this is 17. So that means that this whole angle would be 90 plus 17, which would be 107 degrees. All right, the figure shows the angles formed by 4 intersecting lines. A student wrote 5 equations to solve for some of the angle measures in the figure. Select all of the equations that are true. Well, angle 1 and angle 8 are 90 degrees. So angle 1 plus angle 8 would equal 90. Well, I disagree with that because they are not, they're in the same position, and it would be angle 1 and angle 2 that would equal 90, or angle 1 and angle 7. So I disagree. Angle 5 and angle 6. Well, that's 5 and 6. I agree that that would be a 90-degree angle because they're intersecting lines and they're perpendicular. Okay, angle 2. Let me erase some of this. All right, angle 2 and angle 3. So that would be these two are equal to angles 6 and angle 7. Well, I agree because they are vertical angles. All right. 180 minus angle 8. So this straight line minus this is equal to angles 2, 3, and 4. I agree because that's 180 minus angle 1. I agree that would work. Okay, 180 plus angle 5 and angle 8 is equal, so that would be all of these angles. So all of this added together is the same as 360 minus these two angles. Well, I agree with that too. So those three angles would be correct. So those four answers would be correct. All right, Brittany is mailing a package that is in the shape of a rectangular prism. It has two square faces that each have a perimeter of 30 centimeters. The height of the package is shown below. What is the volume of the package? Okay, so I have a square, right? That means all my sides have to be the same, and the perimeter is 30. So I'm going to have to do 30 divided by 4. So I've got my handy-dandy calculator. 30 divided by 4, I get 7.5. So each of these sides is 7.5. And then the height is 40. So to find the volume, I'm going to do 7.5 times 7.5 times 40. And I get 2,250, and then my units is centimeters cubed, because volume is always cubic units. All right, Layla drew the net of a cube as shown. What is the volume of the cube formed with this net? Well, if it's a cube, I know the length, width, and height are all the same. So they want to know the volume. So volume is length times width times height, and they're all going to be 3.5. So I know that I'm doing 3.5 times 3.5 times 3.5. I get a volume of, I better check that again, 42.875, and that's going to be centimeters cubed. All right, Carmen's swimming pool is in the shape of a rectangular prism. It has a length of 15 feet. So I've got my volume equals length times width times height. So I've got 15. The width is 7. And then the depth, which would also be the height, is 4. The water is filled until the level is 1.5 feet from the top. So that affects only the height. What is the volume of the pool? Well, instead of 4, 4 minus 1.5 would give me 2.5 feet, because I'm doing 4 minus 1.5, and I get 2.5 feet. So my calculator, I'm doing 15 times 7 times 2.5, and I get a volume of 262.5 feet cubed. All right, the surface area of a cube is 384 centimeters squared. What must be the length of each edge? Okay, so we're talking about a cube. So I'm going to draw out my net. And I know I'm pretty standard, and it's not really looking like a cube. Looks kind of like a rectangular prism, but I know these are all squares. So I have 6 squares, and they're all the same. And then I know this is the same as this. So I have 6 faces that are all the same. So I'm going to do 384 divided by 6. And that gives me, each of these areas is 64. And then I know that each of the side lengths has to be the same because it's a cube. So what times itself is 64? So I know 8. So 8 times 8 is 64. So I know each edge length is 8. So 8 would be my answer. Adam is constructing a pyramid in the shape of a fountain from concrete. The rectangular base is 6 feet by 8 feet. The fountain is 4 feet tall. If 1 bag of concrete yields 1/3 of a cubic foot, how many bags of concrete will Adam need to construct the fountain? So we're definitely talking about volume here. And I know that the volume formula for a pyramid is V equals 1/3 the area of the base times the height. So in this case, it's going to be 1/3 length times width times the height. So volume equals 1/3 times 6 times 8 times 4. So the volume is 6 times 8 times 4. So I get 64 as my volume, 64 feet cubed. Then it says 1/3 of a cubic foot. 1 bag of concrete yields 1/3 of a cubic foot. How many bags will he need? Well, I know that bags and feet cubed, I have 1/3 is 1 bag to get to 1, and then I want to get to 60, what is it, 64? So I'm going to divide by 1/3. So that's 3. So I'm going to multiply by 64. So 3 times 64, and I get 192. So I need 192 bags. It's a lot of concrete. All right, the figure below is made up of a cube and a pyramid. The outer surface of the figure will be painted. How much total area will be painted? Okay, so I have to assume that the bottom of this thing is going to also be painted because it doesn't tell me that it won't be. But I know that the top won't because that's inside the shape. So I'm going to start with the cube, and I know I have 5 of these faces. So I know I have 5 7 by 7 faces. So that's 7 times 7 times 5 because I've got 5 squares. So that's going to give me the cube part. So that's 245. And then I have 4 of these triangles. So that's going to be 6.5 times 7 divided by 2 times 4. And I get 91. So I'm going to add these two numbers together. So 91 plus 245. And I get 336 centimeters squared. Now, if it comes to be that the total area painted is not the bottom, then I'll definitely let you know. And that will change this to 4. Okay, so if we find out that the bottom is not included, I'll definitely let you know. But as of right now, the bottom is included in this shape, because based on the question, it doesn't say it doesn't include the bottom. Okay, a triangle that has 2 sides that measure 7 inches and an 85-degree angle. Which statement is true about the triangle? Okay, it has 2 angles that each measure 85 degrees. All 3 angles have different measurements. 2 of the angles measure 47.5 and has a side that's longer than 7 inches, or 2 angles have 47.5 and one side that's shorter than 7 inches. Okay, well, I see that I have 2 sides that measure 7 inches. So that tells me I have an isosceles triangle. Okay, if it's an isosceles triangle, I know that this side, I know if I have an isosceles triangle, and this is 7 and this is 7, I know that I would have to have 2 angles that are both the same. And I can't have 2 85-degree angles. That can't happen. So, because that doesn't add up to 180. So, this one's out. I can't have 3 angles that are different measurements because isosceles triangles, 2 angles are the same. So, this one's out. Okay, so I definitely have 2 angles that measure 47.5. Okay, and then I have a situation where I have 2 angles that measure 47.5 and one side that's shorter and then one side that's longer. Well, I know that the side has to be shorter. And I know that because if this side's the longer side, this has to be a much bigger angle. And it can't be. So it's going to have to be D. Because these 2 angles are going to be the same. Which set of measurements form a unique triangle? So that means a triangle that's all on its own. Well, I know that if I have angle measurements that add up to 180, that's going to make a triangle that has many options. So it can't be this one or it can't be that one. So then I have C and D, right? Well, I can't have a 180-degree angle. That can't be an option. So it can't be D. So now I'm only looking at C. A 4-centimeter side, a 6-centimeter side, and an included 40-degree triangle. A 40-degree angle. All right, a triangle has an angle measurement of 25 and 73. What could be the third side, or the third angle? So I know 25 plus 73. That gives me 98, so 180 minus 98. I get 82 degrees. All right, last one. Isabella owns an aquarium in the shape of a rectangular prism. The capacity is 9,180 cubic feet. The base is 36 inches long and 17 inches wide. What is the height of the aquarium? So I know I have volume equals length times width times height because it's a rectangular prism. I know 9,180 equals 36 times I think I may have done a typo here. I think this is supposed to be inches. Times 17 times an unknown height. So I'm going to do 36 times 17. And I get 612 times the height. I'm going to divide by 612. And the height's going to be 15. And that's going to be inches. All right. If you've got questions, please let me know. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.